Good morning, everybody. Well, you can call it more action, a little bit more yesterday, but markets, what I call a self-correcting uptrend at this time. And it's not what typically results after a 2-week consolidation. So I guess still uncertainty as to Corona, Delta variant, whatever. Oh, you know what, Thane? As far as the Zoom screen, I played around with it yesterday, a couple of settings and whatever. And if you size it on your, your desktop or whatever you're looking at there, it gets rid of the black areas to a great extent. Clearly, they're making some changes that, anyway. So really quiet morning to start the day. And it's been some, although the markets are relatively small ranges, most of them been kind of wild. That, they start off one way, they rip to the downside the other way and whipping back around. So I guess I'm not even looking at volume because I don't look at it that much, but I'm assuming relatively light volume, summer doldrums and not real interest, but, pushing the market around intraday anyway, kind of violently. You can kind of see the bars here. You could see several days ago as it moved up, looked like it was going to go higher, especially even after this 2-bar reversal, and then slam back down and up and slam back down. And so it's been kind of a minefield is the one that I've used for the last couple of weeks as to accidents that have happened. And that means, patterns that looked like they could go in one direction and went violently in the other. So, you trade accordingly. So nothing happening here this morning. We'll see where the day goes. I'm just looking at yesterday's bar in the futures. It's a little bit of a range expansion bar. So and the prior days being sideways like this, I've moved my green reference line below yesterday's low. And ideally, it doesn't dip down significantly into that bar. That's always what we do when we see a bit of a range expansion bar. So here, here's a spike up there at around 8 o'clock. That was around news time. You see the way things are trading here. Little reset there. Come on, E-signal. All right. So starting to form a higher intraday range. So when I do this, moving on the daily chart, that's what I refer to as a significant support level based on a higher time frame, and it marks it here. And so that doesn't mean intraday it's significant. So, and just look at the action here, popping up to a new high. And, one of the things buying, and this is not the kind of breakout that we would buy because, geez, what's going on here? This is resetting. If we had this on the radar to do it, we'd be buying, here after this green bar closed at the high, and would have assumed it would have taken out the high. It didn't. And then it whips back down and takes out the pivot lows and then right back up again. So this is a good example of what I'm talking about with the kind of trading that's happening in intraday, which when you see that, and especially if you're trading it and experience it, it certainly doesn't create a high level of confidence in trends continuing. And, it creates a tendency to take the money quick. And at some point, things are going to change and it's going to trend. And You know, you're going to say, oh, I wish I would have held on to that, but you know, you have to adjust with what is. So anyway, for today, running in place. So the cues have pulled back here, and this may be the more attractive possible setup out of what isn't very attractive at all. But just looking at what we have, it's pulled back several days into the rising 20 here. There's some price support, so maybe this could turn around into a green day. The weekly is still bullish. That last drop right there was a bit vicious for a 5-minute chart. And you see pivot high, tries to go through. And this is a great example of traders, trading the long side. Now it's just a 5-minute chart, but we'd read it the same way if it was an hourly chart or a daily chart. Bullish price action, after a move up, buying the dip, nice big run. And okay, can it build new support? And it starts to do that. And after several attempts to go higher, it fails. And then, this is only 5 minutes. So short-term traders say, hey, it ain't going to work. Hit the bid. And when you see this kind of a move, and just discount any news that could be related to this, it's more, we, as chart readers, we just read that as being, hey, it couldn't go up, so it went down, meaning longs got tired of attempts, maybe adding or initiating new positions. And then, pretty much everybody starts to hit the bid together and drives it down. And then the whole process starts over again when it reaches the support level. YouTube has a new Zoom function, being told in YouTube. Okay, if you could tell me what that is, be interested to know what it's supposed to do. So Russell had a nice day. I mean, this thing, was whippy in the morning as well. It started up and then it went down hard. And then it reached this little climactic type of buy setup. Well, that was overnight, but here yesterday around noontime. And then it had this power uptrend and went sideways. So it's bullish for going sideways. And then it's bullish for breaking below these pivots and immediately coming back up again. So this is what we call the downside shakeout. And now it's just whipping back and forth here. But it's a pattern. When you see, this is what I call a correction bar. Okay? So wide range bar up, it cleared resistance and topping tail, and it just jiggles around. And the correction bar takes out 1 or 2 bars lows, exactly what this did. And it closes at or near the high. So when it takes out the high, historically, it's supposed to go up. We'll see if it'll actually do that. So keeping an eye on this right now. It's just more of that whipsaw price action, schizophrenic. August. So McGraw, I looked at yesterday. You had mentioned, did I see the open interest in the further out contracts? So you didn't remember yesterday what it was, but I did recall seeing some big numbers, and was at 4,400, which is down here. And so, while that would be a support point, if it was to drop there, it's so far away. I wanted to ask you, what were the thoughts as to that? Because, that big open interest in puts and calls being way down here. Yeah, that's a big inflection point. But as far as keeping us range bound at the moment, I don't get the potential effect on that, because there isn't a lot of open interest of significance around up here. This is humongous. Yeah. Look now overhead. All right, I'll take a look at that. So it would make sense that, I'm assuming on the call side that, as things are moving up, more calls are being bought in anticipation that it's going to continue to move higher. Yeah. And, so, we look at, 44.50, which is pretty much right there now. And then it usually seems to jump in 25 point increments. It's usually what I see. So, 44.75, I would assume, give or take. There's really not a red area, but there's really nothing to the left there. But it still continues to be, don't buy strength, buy weakness, because buying the strength a lot of times results like what you have right here. Right? Boom. And then comes down to support and buyers show up again. And they'll keep doing that until it stops working. Dow has been the one trading much better. And it's interesting in that it's the concept of catching up the rear, or what was showing relative weakness starts to show relative strength. And you saw Caterpillar, catch a bid yesterday and the day before and did well, and a couple other Dow stocks. But you just had this erratic price action and up and whip down and up and whip down. And this is what we kind of refer to a lot of times as a launching pad, where it's going sideways at resistance versus, a drop like that. It builds this support. And, bar by bar, you had what Derek calls kind of a bear sandwich, big green, red, green. And then this bar here, our correction bar, takes out the low. And then, of course, we read it as it's supposed to go up. So we'll see if the Russell wants to follow. It's not exactly the same. I'm just taking a look at that to reinforce the concept of taking out the low and coming up. It's that type of a shakeout that let's just call it the mechanical effect of what's happening on the chart. And so we look at a master trader point of view. We look at charts from a point of view of what is this communicating to us? First of all, about supply demand, of course, but what individuals are thinking. So one of the mechanical effects is that it helps remove overhead supply. This strength move and this consolidation we read is okay, it's strong, it's building a support, and traders believe it's going to go up. So when it takes out the low, stops get taken out. So if those stops are taken out, the idea is, thought process is, well, that helps remove supply. And that should alleviate selling pressure on the way up, because now there's new buyers. Whoever bought the dip, of course, somebody had to buy it to drive it back up. And since they don't have much of a significant profit in there, it's like someone would that was in here, they're less likely to want to sell the initial move up. We know sometimes that happens, like here and and here. If that's schizophrenic, erratic type of price action, and nothing we can do about it, but recognize it. Bitcoin starting to pull in a little bit. Makes sense. Let's shift this up. Kind of the little gap fill area there, actually a bit higher, but multiple days up, really normal kind of price action where strong move up and momentum slows and starts to pull back. And what we'd like to see with this is, it might pull back into this gap fill, but I would hope that that's about the extent of where it pulls back to, because what you want to see after a strong move like this is that buyers are more aggressive, right? Not deep retracements, either minor support or even above it. And so we'll see how that shapes up. Excuse me. Crude oil bouncing up here. The media talking a lot about inflation, and even sites that really aren't like, financial sites, more just, people go there to listen what's going on during the day, price of gas going up and whatever. So we shall see how that plays out. This has come down a bit, and there's usually oil gasoline follows a little bit, but we're talking about, I think I saw today, price of gasoline is $1 more a gallon today than what it was a year ago. And, well, not measured by gold, and really not measured by interest rates being as low as they are. Sure, they've come off of the low here, and we were hoping that would happen. We talked about this last week as it was coming down to the low. But, huge inflation certainly could be coming with all of this talk of trillions of dollars being spent. And if the Democrats get that 3 trillion pork bill pushed through, I hope it doesn't happen, but historically, what they're doing right now just might be the downfall of the superpower that happens through history. So what they're doing certainly seems irresponsible or intentional. Silver, week looks like maybe it's got to go lower and come down here, but it's almost to its destination. I'm saying the Russell Daily is tight right now. I can't remember a range so tight I'd love to break out. Well, depends on the time frame you're looking at it as far as being tight. I'm on 87 because this is whippy and erratic. It's really not tight. This is tight how it rallied yesterday. That's a power uptrend. When the bar, you get very few pivots. Sometimes you get none, but the bars are relatively equal in range and it doesn't pull back. It goes sideways. That's a power uptrend. And if, you look a little further out here, this is the furthest thing from tight that there is on a daily time frame as to, the swing highs and lows. So it's kind of like a heart attack. But I like the fact that, these last few days, the kind of price action that this could break out and make a decent move, maybe to the back of the range. If gasoline stays at the same price, what would be the motivation to buy a new EV? Well, price of gas went up. I think just in general, the idea of an electric car not costing you that money anymore. And I guess, you got to look at it and it's like, well, how much am I actually spending? Right? So if you drive a lot, you'd be more motivated. Whereas like someone like myself that doesn't drive very much, I'd rather have my gasoline powered car and, but as these cars get better and better, it certainly could become a consideration, and it all becomes, hey, is my gas powered car so much more money than the electric car? Is it equal? All of those things come into play. All right. What are our transports doing? Look great. So a lot of positive signs. It's been more about stocks that, what we've talked about here this week, playing catch up, bringing up the rear type of plays versus, the momentum kind of plays like, the tech stocks, Dow Chemical on a push up versus, the typical of what had been performing, that had nasty gap and so on, but, Apple doing nothing now for a while and so on. So we'll see what today brings. All yours, Dan. Yeah, I've talked too long.
Good morning. All right, so all of our opens are fine. I just had a TJX here I like. I just posted. I just had an alarm go off on our Beaky. I see one print up there, so that would be nice if that gap is real. McGraw Home Builders, KBH. I can't tell what that's doing, but Toll, yeah, there's a lot of home builders. We're long XHB and ITB and XLB and PAVE. we had a nice inventory in our ETF trader, Greg. Yeah, tell Shauna, I'm always telling you that. So just a couple miscellaneous things here. You know, Dash made all-time highs. Today's Thursday, Tuesday, all-time highs, inside day. Put spread idea. I just posted NVIDIA, put spread idea for tomorrow. Pelletier, I posted, nice gap breakout on earnings. So it's gapping over all of this. So all of this now is support. So we'll watch that on a pullback, both for directional and put spread. Clove, CLOV. This, this is one of the Reddit boy toys. Maybe they're, I don't know if it was earnings or maybe they're up to, maybe it's their new toy today. I don't know. We were watching oil yesterday. Look at XLE, I like. Slob, I like yesterday's high. Earnings, thanks. Let's see, Thomas, Oracle, Fast, DHI. Yeah. I mean, this one's even stronger than the other ones because the other ones were bottoming patterns. Now this is up far from the 20 idea, but I like the weekly. Ideally, I'd like a 1, 2, 3 to let it rest, but yeah, looks great. On the drop down scrolling. Oh, I didn't see anybody. No, because Austin, when I'm talking to people on YouTube is why. But no, don't worry. I'll be scolding you in here. Don't you worry. Oracle needs to break out. Let's set an alarm. Set an alarm 10 cents before all these highs. And then it looks good. Yep. Fast, Clove. Fast was a buy setup. Nice close. So over yesterday's high is fine. Clove we just looked at. Just put it in a window like I did. Bottom right here, 5-minute chart. So step one, and yes, it's a bullish gap. Step two is, let's see how it sets up. So it's a watch, yes. Another buy setup I looked at, look at this, no, Simon Property, SPG. There you go. I noticed this one yesterday, a buy setup. And I pulled it up because I think it was Kevin O'Leary from Shark Tank was on CNBC yesterday. I like him. He's a no nonsense business guy. And he was saying what I've been saying forever, which is how on earth or why no Simon Properties is a malls, and he was talking about commercial property, but he was saying that so many. Yeah, no, he's not humble. I agree with that. Yeah, I don't think I said humble. I think I said no nonsense. But I don't know how many companies he's involved in, but obviously dozens. I mean, he has a whole compliance staff himself. He was saying how, his compliance people are on him all the time to keep the regulators off his back, et cetera. But anyway, my point is, he was saying in his own businesses that have commercial office space, he's like, look, that he has CFOs calling him saying, I ain't going back to work. And if you don't meaning they want to work from home. And so they're telling him, if you don't let me, then I quit. I ain't going back to the office. So anyway, his point was, yeah, the office space is never going to be the same after Corona. And all these airlines, UAL CEO came on the other day saying, oh yeah, of course our business travel is going to get restored to 100%. I'm like, what planet are you on to be able to say such a thing? Because it's just impossible. I mean, these companies, some of this profitability obviously is real, in terms of they've recreated their business models, and they're saving a ton of money in travel, so hotels, et cetera. All right, let's continue here. Got sidetracked. Stan, you're still in. 2690. I would, go just, well, NASDAQ selling off right now. 27. I'd give it, 10, 15-minute low. Just be patient here. I don't like rushing to do anything at the market open. Qualcomm. It's a sloppy buy setup, but you remember we do that MT live called the Turn, TURN. That reminds me of that because this big old bottoming tail, and then the inside bar, and then the gap over it now has completed the turn. So it's worth watching, Boston. Boston, will you watch that maybe 10-minute high for us and come back to me with some numbers? AXS. Hey, up alarm. Greg, this is your AXS. Let's tighten the stop to here now. 5288. Well, so today, this is the first day in a couple where I don't see the decoupling the four horsemen, meaning all four are kind of selling off here together, whereas last couple of days, it's Qs have been doing the exact opposite of whatever the other three horses were doing. It's always a concern when we're at all-time highs, and as Greg's been preaching, these things are just screaming that they should go higher. So if they don't, that's a message right there. All right, TJX gapped up, so now it's 5-minute high over 71.90.